Welcome to the Boat Buyer's Secret Weapon, how to buy a used deck boat without getting ripped off. I am your host, Captain Matt, and today we are sponsored by the Boat Buyer's Secret Weapon Toolkit. You can download your free copy of the toolkit that has several checklists and several tools available for you at boatbuyerssecretweapon.com. Let me share what we're going to discover today as we talk through, is a deck boat right for you? Options to consider, options that are very important to know if your boat has it, and that could be expensive if you buy a boat without them and you want to install them later. How to avoid somebody else's headache, which is always a major issue when you're looking at a used boat. How to do a proper test drive. The number one inspection that you must do, financing tips, insurance tips, and at the end, we have a special free gift for you. So let's start with some basics. This will be very quick. You have deck boats, bow riders, and pontoons. The deck boat is kind of the cross between the bow rider and the pontoon. A lot of seating area, and yet it's a fiberglass boat, which some people love the look of fiberglass and don't want the stigma associated with a pontoon. A deck boat can be a great option. What differentiates a deck boat from a bow rider is that big, wide bow that gives you more seating, more interior space on the boat, whereas the bow rider on the right has that sharp point. The pontoon versus the deck boat, obviously it's the structure of the boat. The pontoon has the big old tunes on the bottom, aluminum. It looks like a pontoon, whereas the deck boat still has that boat feel that some people look at. The deck boat is a great all-around universal boat. You can fish, you can tube, you can wakeboard, you can water ski, you can cruise, you can go fast, you have maneuverability. It's usually a solid, comfortable ride in rough chop. The deck boat is a very, very universal boat, easy to trailer as well. So let's look at one of the first options you need to make when looking at a deck boat. Do I want a stern drive or an inboard outboard or an outboard? So a stern drive, an IO, an inboard outboard are all the same thing. You can see that picture on the left. When I think of the stern drive, the number one benefit that comes to me is easy access to the water. You can see there's nothing obstructing your access to the water. The kids can play off the back. They can jump in. You can get your wakeboard strapped on. You can board the tube. And the engine is typically tucked under that swim platform. The drive portion of the engine, the other portion is inside the boat under that deck right here behind where this lady's sitting. That's a stern drive boat, a great option, and that's the number one benefit. The outboard on the right, that kind of teal boat with the black Mercury hanging off the back. Again, you can see it obstructs the access to the water a little bit. You don't have that huge platform, but what you do get, you get easy maintenance, a little bit less expensive maintenance, especially with the newer outboards. They're very efficient, they're very quiet, they're very easy to maintain, and they're very, very reliable. The other benefit is if you live in some colder climates, the winterization process is easier and less expensive. So they're cheaper to maintain over time. If you live in warmer climates where you still get some freezing, you can tilt that motor down and you can run it year round, which is a great advantage. If you live in a saltwater environment, you can run it in salt water, flush it out, and it's much easier, and the long-term maintenance is much less. For me, I love the access to the water and the benefits of that in the boating lifestyle. For me in the freshwater, very much outweighs that outboard benefit. If I was on the coast, it may change but that's my opinion. What you need to do is make the decision that's best for you and your family. And those are the pros and cons of each. Let's talk about some options that are some expensive options if you don't have on the used boat that you're getting. One thing about buying a used boat is if you can get that boat equipped exactly the way you want to use it, and you can find that boat, the overall investment will be cheaper. And I look at the investment on a boat as a total investment, not just the price of the boat, but how does it need to be equipped for me to enjoy it out of the gate. And a bimini top is one. If you look on this picture, that deck boat has the bimini top. It's that blue top. There it's folded out. On the bow rider, it's folded up and out of the way. On the pontoon, it's folded up and out of the way. That's a bimini top. Those run 500 to 1,000, maybe even $1,500, depending on the size of the boat, of the deck boat that you're looking at. So if you can find a boat that has a bimini top that's in good condition, the canvas is good, the structural supports are good, that's a major benefit. If you are in the sun, you're concerned about getting some shade, getting a little bit cooler for the kids or for yourself, that bimini top is a must for a lot of boaters. If it's important to you, ask the question if it has it, fold it out, make sure you inspect it, and that it's going to work properly for you. The canvas cover, again, you want to protect your investment. You want to make sure that there's a canvas cover on the boat if you're going to store it outside. If you're going to, I would say for me, always put the canvas cover on. Uh, but a canvas cover could be $500 to $1,500 depending on the size, the type of cover. And remember, if you're going to trailer the boat, you want to make sure that the cover is suitable for trailering. Not all covers can be towed down the interstate at 70 miles an hour. So you want to make sure that it's a travel cover. If you're storing it on the water, you want to make sure that's going to fit in that situation, because if you need, or that the cover's in good condition, it doesn't have rips and tears and mold and mildew all over it. The snaps are broken and things like that. Some of those can be easily fixed with a canvas shop and are simple repairs. Other times it may require a full replacement, which again, $500 to $1,500 depending on the size of your boat and the type of cover you get. These are little things that a lot of people miss when buying their boat, and then the boat becomes much more expensive than what it could have been if they thought about this up front. Fishing setup. If you're looking to fish, you want to make sure that you've got the fishing chairs, that you've got the electronics, maybe the trolling motor. Is that stuff included with the boat? Can it be added? And can it be added safely, properly, and for an amount that you're comfortable investing in the setup of your boat? That's the cost of it for electronics. I mean, you're looking maybe several $100s to, depending on the size of the boat and the type of screens you get, upwards and into the thousands. If you're looking at trolling motors, trolling motors can be 1,500 to several $1,000s depending on the size that you're getting and the options that it has. Wakeboard tower. If you're going to be using your boat for water sports, and I'll show you the wakeboard tower, you can see a black one on the stern drive. Um, what that does is it gives you a higher center of gravity. A higher center of gravity to make it easier for the kids to get up. It also makes it easier if you're wakeboarding and doing tricks. You can get easier air because of that higher center of gravity. It also looks cool. You can hang speakers from it, and there's a cosmetic component to it. If you want that wakeboard tower on your boat, I'm going to encourage you to find a boat that has a factory installed tower. And here's why. Wakeboard towers can be very expensive. They can be on the inexpensive side, a couple $1,000s to $5, 6, $7,000 to have a proper tower installed. The next factor is if you mount a tower on a boat that didn't get one from the factory, you may be mounting directly into fiberglass, and there's no way to get a back plate on some of them. So it can cause cracking, it can cause issues with your boat over the long haul with all of that pressure that's being put on the tower itself as you're towing and putting weight on it. The wakeboard towers that are installed at the factory, they will typically put a mounting bracket in the fiberglass or under the fiberglass to give a good solid surface to mount to, or a back plate to mount to. They're much sturdier, much more durable, and a better investment. And it's already been depreciated. So they paid $7,000 for that option on the new boat, but if it's 5 years old, that has been depreciated. Whereas if you put a new one on, you've got to pick a aftermarket tower and you have to pay retail for it. So that's a huge option that if you want it, if you think you're going to want it, you might want to look at boats that have wake towers. Same thing with the head compartment on a deck boat that's 21 is about as small as you'll find one up. You may find a bathroom or a head compartment on it with a porta potty, or an actual vacuum flush toilet. If you're looking for that, it's best to make sure it has that in there. A porta potty may be couple $100 at West Marine or wherever you get your equipment, or your dealer. But if you're looking for a head compartment, you typically want to make sure it's there, has the compartment, and maybe even has the porta potty. The vacuum flush is costly to install if it's available to install at all. So another option you want to make sure is there. So let's look at inspecting the boat that you have selected. The first thing, you want to make sure that it has a sturdy floor. The used boats out there from the 90s, the early 2000s, most of them switched to a different type of flooring where they encapsulated the floor in fiberglass, which avoided the rot issue. But if you're looking at a boat from those ages, you want to step on the floor and test it everywhere. That includes by the seats, by all the lockers, in the back where people board, in the bow area. Anywhere that there's going to be exposed flooring, you just want to put some pressure on it, maybe hop up and down a little bit, and make sure that floor is rock solid. Because if there's any give, if there's rot in that plywood, that is a costly and a time-consuming repair that unless you want a project boat, I would say probably walk away from that. Next, you want to inspect the fiberglass bottom. You want to look under the boat, not just at the gel coat on the side, but you actually want to look for blisters, little bubbles on the boat. You want to look for gouges and scrapes, anything that might be a major fiberglass issue. You want to just inspect. Here's my rule on buying used boats is you want to know every single flaw that boat has so you can make the decision if you're comfortable buying that boat for the price that they're willing to sell it. Now, I've got a tool for you to help get a cheaper price, which you can find out about later, but you want to know every single flaw. And here's the thing, every boat has a flaw. Every used boat has a flaw, whether it has 5 hours on it or whether it's 20 years old and has 500 hours on it. They have flaws, and you need to be aware of them before you make that purchase. So inspect the bottom of the boat. Electronics and stereo system. Check the electronics, check the stereo, check all the speakers, the lights, gauges, switches, the upholstery, and the canvas. You want to go through all of that. Don't just take their word for it that everything works, because when you're a boat owner, if something stops working, sometimes you just get used to it, and you don't even realize, you don't even think about it. If you're a dealer, you might not even be aware that there's something that doesn't work. But if you're buying this boat, you want to know every single flaw. Not that you're going to walk away from it because it has a flaw, but you want to be aware of it so you can make a smart decision and not get somebody else's headache. Hatches and latches. You want to open every compartment, every hatch. You want to smell in every compartment, look for mold, look for mildew, look for any signs of a red flag. I don't know what it may be. Every boat's different, but when you poke your head in and you take your flashlight and you actually look through every compartment and every locker on that boat, you're going to find issues that, again, may not turn you off of the boat, but you'll be aware of them. Wiring and corrosion. If the boat's been in a saltwater environment, there's going to be some corrosion. May not turn you away completely, although being a saltwater boat raises some red flags on how do they maintain it. So you want to make sure that if there's wiring and corrosion, you're aware of, is it causing anything not to work? Will it in the future? Check the battery. Is there bad corrosion on the battery, on the fuel water separator if it's an outboard, on the drive of the stern drive? All of those things you want to do an inspection on so that you're aware if it's an issue or if it's causing issues. Now, let's move on to the engine. The engine is a huge portion of the value of a boat. To replace an outboard, let's say a 150, you're looking at $17,000 to $20,000 for a new one, to repower. If you have cablings and the controls and gauges and all of that, it's a major expense. So here's what you need to know on the engine. You want to know the hours. Give you some baselines. On a freshwater deck boat, most of them, an average use is about 50 hours a year, maybe 100 if you're at the coast and you're doing a lot of running. Um, the useful life of a stern drive of a Mercruiser or a Volvo engine, an outboard, a Yamaha, Mercury, Suzuki, whatever, useful life is 1,000 to 1,500 hours. That's when you're going to start seeing major repairs and a lot of expenses coming up. Be aware of that. If you're looking at a boat that has 1,200 hours on it, well, that's okay if you understand what you're getting and you're paying a price that you're comfortable, because you know you're going to have to do a repower, or you're mechanically inclined and are able to do some of the work yourself. Check the engine oil and fluids. What you want to look for is the oil clean or dirty? Does the fluids look right? Is anything kind of frothy and kind of foamy like a cappuccino or like a foamy coffee? That's indicative of water getting into the oil, and that's a major repair, a huge red flag, and probably a boat you want to walk away from unless you're a project boat kind of person. Now, here's the number one thing that you must inspect on the engine is get a compression check. The compression is how strong the cylinders are firing in that engine, how much power is being put out compared to when it was brand new. Every boat has a baseline of this is the compression new, and you want to pull that compression. There's a little gauge they put on each cylinder. They fire it. It might be 120, 180 pounds of pressure. You want to make sure it's level across all of them and it's really near that new boat baseline. If you're not able to do this yourself, you don't have anybody that can do it, there's a inexpensive little tool, but you need to do it properly. A marine mechanic can do this for 100, maybe $150, and it's pretty simple to do. But I encourage you to do that, because a brand new boat that's only got 20 hours on it, that you're like, man, this thing is beautiful. It looks perfect. It's been well maintained. It's only got 20 hours on it. Well, if that engine overheated for some reason, or they did something like ran it out of the water, um, that can blow a cylinder and cause compression. I've had boats that have looked great that I've run personally, and like, no, this is a good solid boat. When they check compression, a cylinder was bad, which means you lost some power. At some point, you may have an issue. There's a costly repair up to a complete rebuild or a new engine. So get that compression checked for a $5,000, $10,000 boat that has a bunch of hours on it. You definitely need to do it so you avoid that mistake. If you're looking at a $50,000 or $100,000 boat, guess what? $100 or $150 is a drop in the bucket to have that confidence that there's no issue. Prop condition, is the prop need to be rebuilt? That's $150 or so, maybe more depending on the type of prop. If it's a dual prop, it may be much more. The drive condition, especially on stern drives, you want to look for corrosion. You want to look for grab that drive and shake it. You want to make sure that it's solid on the transom and that there's not too much wiggle back and forth, which is indicative of another major repair. It should have a little bit of wiggle to it, but not much, just very, very little. So you want to do those inspections on that engine to make sure that you're not going to have a several $1,000 repair down the line. Now, we've inspected the boat, we've inspected the engine. Now let's do our test drive, our demo, our sea trial. My advice to you is to start the boat cold. Be the first start of the day for that engine. That's going to show you that, hey, this is really how the boat starts up, and you're going to find out more information starting it cold versus somebody having it warmed up. That second start's always easier. Then you want to listen to it idle. Does it sound smooth? Does it sound rough? Is it quiet? Does it sound like it might be missing? Does it not sound right? Even if you're not mechanically inclined, you know what an engine sounds like, and you can tell if it sounds like other similar boat engines or not. Then you want to take it off the dock, and you want to idle out through the wake zone. Once you get in a safe place and you have the competence to drive a boat, it's a safe area. Be responsible. If you're not capable of operating the boat, get somebody to help you. But you want to run it through these maneuvers in a safe, responsible manner. Okay, idle to wide open throttle. Make sure everything's clear in front of you. Wide open throttle. How does the boat take off? How does it get up on plane? How does it sound as it's doing that? Is it smooth? Are they hearing pops or clicks or anything that sounds odd? And you want to listen. You want to listen to that engine, and you want to take it through that process so you can hear how it responds. Pull back to 3/4 throttle, leave that trim all the way down, and do a nice hard turn to the left, to the port side, to the right, to the starboard side, and do a complete circle. And how does it sound? Is it easy to steer? Is it hard to steer? Is it responsive? Is the ride characteristics, are they comfortable? Is there anything that jumps out at you that you're not comfortable with at that speed? Now, if the boat goes 100 miles an hour, don't do it at 75. Do it at a safe speed. But 3/4 throttle is about right for almost all deck boats. Then you want to adjust the trim. If the boat's equipped with trim, you want to adjust it to see how the ride characteristics change to make sure it works up and down. And you want to do that as you're going, and you want to do it as you're sitting in neutral, floating in the water, and make sure that it goes to every stop that it should, especially on the outboards. Make sure that it goes all the way to trailer position and put it right back in the water. Now, as you're sitting still in the water, you want to go from neutral, sitting at a standstill, to go in gear, forward, pause, 1, 2, 3, pause for that beat, back to neutral. 1, 2, 3, pause, reverse. 1, 2, 3, pause, to neutral. And you want to do that back and forth and make sure that it's shifting properly, that it sounds right as it's going in and out of gear. Now, if you're a first-time boater, you want to make sure that you go quickly into forward, just to that idle speed. You don't want to give it throttle, but just in gear and out of gear, and do it in a relatively quick motion. On some of the stern drives, you may hear, on some of the cabled boats, you may hear, you want to go a little bit quick. But if it doesn't sound right as you're doing it, then that might be indicative of something you want a mechanic to inspect, or a boat that you want to walk away from. And then on the outboards, you want to make sure that you have that water spitting out of the engine, especially when you're running under power. If you're sitting at idle, it may just be a sputter, a little spit of water. That's indicative of a worn impeller or something with the water pump that needs to be addressed. Here's the other question that you want to ask is, when's the last time the fluids have been changed? When's the last time the impeller has been changed? And when's the last time the batteries have been changed out? How old are the batteries? Here's my recommendation to you. Just plan on, unless they've been done in the last year, and there's records of it being done in the last year, and the oil's clean, is get the impeller changed, the fluids changed, and new batteries. Um, that's going to ensure that your first year out, you're not dealing with somebody else's problem, somebody else's headache, somebody else's lack of maintenance. You start with a fresh start. You know exactly how the boat's been taken care of, and you can move forward from there, versus having a major issue like your impeller breaking down and maybe getting up in the engine, or maybe overheating, and now you've got a significant repair on your hands because you didn't invest in basic maintenance. Okay. Now, if you're looking at a trailer boat, you want to inspect that trailer. What you may not know is getting a trailer for a used boat is not simple. It's not super easy, and the trailer has to match the boat and sit on it properly and maybe be adjusted. And a trailer for an 18-foot deck boat may be about $1,800 to $2,000. For a 24-foot deck boat, you may be looking at $5,000 to $7,000 as you get up into the bigger sizes. So you want to inspect the trailer when it's in the water doing your demo. This is a great time to do it. The winch stand and the straps, check everything. The lights, the bunks, make sure there's no rot in the bunks. Shake them around and make sure that they're not going to float off as you back that boat into the trailer, into the water the first time or the second time, which I've seen happen. The axle and the bearings, inspect it. Make sure that that there's no rust, and make sure that they look in good condition. The brakes, the tires. Tires on a trailer can be $100 to $150 a tire. If you got a dual axle trailer, that's 4 tires that you have to be replaced. You want to look for dry rot, and you want to look for wear. Tires also age over time, and there's a useful life for a tire. depending on if it was blocked up or if it's been sitting in the same spot for a year, those tires may need to be replaced. So you want to know about that so you can see what the total cost of ownership of this boat look like. And again, do it while it's off the trailer. There's one boat I want to mention on the deck boat that especially important on the trailer is the Bayliner Rendezvous. The Bayliner Rendezvous was a great boat, um, but it has a special trailer to fit it. It's a customized trailer, and they're nearly impossible to find used. You're going to have to get one custom built, and it is going to be costly. Those boats are getting old now, so you want to be aware of that. That hey, don't expect just to go out and buy this great deal on a boat, and then expect to get a trailer cheap and easy. It's not going to be cheap, and it's likely not going to be easy. Now, if you're looking at financing, we've got a special video on financing that you'll want to check out at boatbuyersecretweapon.com. But on a used deck boat, you want to look at your local bank. They're probably not going to be the best, but check them. A local credit union, which is likely to be a great option for most people. Good credit, they lend on relationships. They can be a great option for you. Marine lenders, somebody that just focuses on boat loans. You can find some at boatbuyersecretweapon.com that we found that do a great job on used deck boats. Get a quote from them. They're typically going to require 10% down. They will typically go a longer term and get you a low rate with a low payment. If that's important to you, that might be a great option for you. If you're buying from a dealer, check with the dealer's lender. Now, I've heard people on chat rooms talk about, but the dealer's going to make money. Well, guess what? Everybody is making money on your boat loan. So just who cares how much money they're making? Get a quote from each of them and pick the one that's best suited for your goals and your needs. Okay. If they make money, that's great. They made money. But if you save money, that's the one thing that you should be concerned about. The dealer's lender or the marine lender may be great, but again, your local credit union is a great option. Watch that financing video. I go into a lot more detail on financing a used boat. Insurance. Insurance for a deck boat, $500 to $1,200 a year, depending on if you're on the coast, if you're in a hurricane area, if you trailer, if you store the boat on the water, what your credit rating is, what your driving history is. There's also a video on boat insurance, how to get the best coverage at the best price that you want to check out. And we have some options for boat insurance on boatbuyersecretweapon.com as well that do a great job and have great coverage. So you want to check that out. So we've covered a bunch of stuff. I wanted to give you a free option to pick up that Boat Buyer's Secret Weapon Toolkit. Everything that we've covered here, we've put into checklist formats. We've put in some extra information in this toolkit to buy the right boat at the best price, how to demo a boat the right way. So you're not just trying to remember the maneuvers, but actually a checklist that's even more in depth than what we went through. So you can not only check that you did it, but make notes of, did the gauges work? Did the stereo work? How did it perform when we did this maneuver? Did I do the port side turn? Did I do the starboard turn? Did I go in and out of gear? What were the notes there so that you can ensure you don't miss anything, and that you have a record afterwards so that you can think about and make your decision properly. Must ask questions for dealers and private sellers. If you have a trade, how to maximize your trade, how to get the best boat loan, get the best insurance, and much, much more. So you can go to boatbuyersecretweapon.com. There's several buttons there to claim yours for free. We'll email that over to you. I appreciate you watching. If you've got questions, if there was something we didn't cover in the comments section down below, just go ahead and put your question. I'll answer it. Maybe we'll make another video for you. And for everybody out there that's researching buying a boat, if you liked the video, if you found it valuable, we'd appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up, gave it a like on YouTube, shared it with your friends, shared it on your social media. That's a huge help for getting the word out. Again, we do this as a free service, expert advice, unbiased, that you can count on to help you make a smart decision so you can buy the right boat at the best price. There's also a tool that we have to ensure that you get the best price that you can check out at boatbuyersecretweapon.com. When you get the toolkit, you'll get some more information on that as well. And again, remember, we give you all this information because we want you to buy that boat. We want you to buy the right boat so you have years and years of boating fun, because we know life truly is better on a boat. Take care, everybody.